Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the International Fabtalks. In fact, a wonderful day to all the people across the world. Today, we are gathered here and collected with a beautiful thought of having to connect with people across the globe. And you'll ask me why? Why do we connect with people across the globe? And what is the necessity? The necessity is to understand how they have been overcoming the challenges in their life, how they have faced the ups and downs and have never given up on life. And they have settled for nothing but for the best. So today we have been joined by one of the special persons who's been focusing her time, her expertise and energy to the universe in a very positive way. How? By being a great, passionate trainer, a corporate trainer, a wonderful author, and a person who's a great humanitarian. And she has many feathers to her cap. So I'm really happy and pleased to welcome our special celebrity and guest. She is Miss Jayanthi Venkatesan. She's joining us all the way from Coimbatore. Hello, ma'am, and thank you for being a part of our journey.
No, happy to be here.
Yes, dear. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your time with us. In spite of a busy schedule, you've taken out some time for us. Thank you very much. We are eager to learn the knowledge and wisdom that you would be sharing with us today, ma'am. I go ahead and share your profile in an official way, dear.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. My dear friends, as I earlier mentioned, we are connected with a special guest and celebrity. She is Mrs. Jayanthi Venkatesan, joining us from Coimbatore. She's a corporate trainer, a passionate one at that. Now, you just think, why am I saying this word passionate? You'll get to know as I share ma'am's profile. Ma'am has completed a BCom and Master's in Business Administration, and as well as she's completed a post-graduation diploma in computer applications. She is the retired director of IIT Study Circle, Coimbatore. She worked as a visiting faculty in the Department of Management Studies at PSG Krishnammal College, Janson Business School, CMS, Krishna College, Amrita College, Kongu Engineering College, IRTT, Nehru College, and various other colleges in and around Coimbatore. She's also the executive director of Guide and HRD Institute based in Coimbatore. Ma'am also focuses on, building up lives, focusing on the lives of the younger generation, enabling and empowering them to understand the real meaning of life as a wonderful trainer. Ma'am has been taking more than 6,000 plus training programs on management and leadership subjects for companies, schools, and colleges as well. Industries of Tamilnadu, Kerala, and Andhrapradesh as a corporate trainer. Ma'am has also focused her energies on being a Rotary member, and she was selected by the Rotary District 3200 to be one of the members in the group study exchange program to Australia, where she presented several papers on management, and at the Darwin Institute of Technology, Australia, a popular compere anchor person, you could say a host or a masters of ceremony she has taken part in this beautiful thing in Coimbatore and has compared several conferences, seminars, and fashion shows. Given several talks over AIR. What is this AIR? All India Radio. And television programs as well on management services and regular features on Sun TV. She's always regularly giving some output for Sun TV as a resource personnel. And ma'am is also focused and that part of not just being sitting down quietly. She always wants to be energetic and active. No matter what comes her way, she would like to take up beautiful aspects and contribute in a positive way. Ma'am is also a member of the advisory committee of the Indian Railways at Coimbatore. That's what I said. Ma'am is very, very energetic and enthusiastic. We all should learn that. We should not be satisfied with what we already are or into. Let's try new places, or let's put our foot in new areas. Ma'am also is connected with LIC Policyholders Council. She was also a beautiful and a compassionate, passionate, and a focused news reader in AIR, that is All India Radio, and a program executive in 1973, from 1973 to 1975, you could say that. And in the year 2018, as I earlier said, she's also an author. She wrote a lovely book titled Speak English for Tamil medium students. This book has been distributed in 20 government schools in Coimbatore and Chennai. Ma'am is happily married to Mr. S.S. Venkatesan, who is also a wonderful and passionate, focused corporate trainer. They both are blessed with two lovely children, Aarthi and Vijay. Both of them hold a Ph.D. and they focus on being themselves and living beautiful lives. Aarthi is a nanotechnologist in an MNC, and Mr. Vijay is a lead scientist in NASA, and both of them are settled in the USA. And this is a beautiful way to give back to the society, to enable even our children to give back in a positive way to the society. Imagine being a nanotechnologist, imagine being a great scientist at NASA. And, we have a proud parent joining us now. Let's get to know more about ma'am as to how she was able to manage as a mother, as a trainer, as a mentor, and of course, as a humanitarian. Hello, ma'am, and welcome to the session.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea, for that lovely introduction.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, dear. Dear ma'am, when we go through your profile, it's really a rich one. And yet you are so humble, down to earth. We want all people like this to be down to earth, approachable, because we find people, many of them having something within them, and that is called ego. And that has to be crushed. If you want to rise up and be the next Mrs. Jayanthi Venkatesan, you have to crush ego and build a beautiful world for yourself, your family, and your country as well, and the universe at large. Ma'am, I've been doing the talking a lot. So now I come back to you. Now I've shared your profile, but we'd like to know who is the real Jayanthi? How would you define yourself, ma'am?
Well, I'm a very ordinary person, Andrea. But I'm very passionate about what I do. I would say I would describe myself as an extremely self-confident person. And, I never give up, right? It's not that I've got lucky in whatever I've done. It's not like that. I have faced many hurdles and many hardships, but somehow right from my childhood, when my father was giving me his counsel, he always taught me that never die attitude, right? So I'm very passionate about what I do, and I fight till I get it. So that way, I think I would define myself as a never say die person.
Excellent, ma'am. A fighter. Never give up.
Yeah, I never give up.
It's a big takeaway for all of us, because many of us, including me, at a certain point of time, we feel that let's give up everything. We see the fighter in us dying down or giving up easily. But then if you have overcome all the challenges, as you said, you've not been lucky on many occasions, but you did not give up. You fought very hard to be who you are today. That's really nice, ma'am. And it's a big message to all of the young women out there. Don't give up so easily, no matter what age you are. Don't give up easily. You will really win. Consistency is the key.
Yes, definitely.
And the fighting spirit.
Absolutely. You said it. Yeah.
Yes, dear ma'am, we'd like to know as to how you became a corporate trainer. How did this passion develop? Like, I want to go into training. When did you get this calling?
Well, I should say that in a way, I was very lucky because my father always encouraged me a lot. I was the college union president during my college days, and this helped me a lot in grooming myself to a leadership role. And I was leading a college where we had more than 8,000 students, right? So it was one of the biggest colleges in Chennai, the Queen Mary's College, where I was doing my undergraduation of BCom. So that my grooming was very perfect because my father helped me in all aspects and chiseled me into what I should be as a leader. And later on, when I got married, again, I got very lucky because of my husband, who helped me through this journey of defining myself. And that was very beneficial to me. During my school days, again, I should say I got lucky because I had a wonderful school teacher, Miss Sundaram, who is still, in my mind, although she no longer lives. For example, I had a very big challenge when I was in my ninth standard, in my ninth standard in Coimbatore, where I was studying in St. Francis Convent, where my father, who was the divisional manager of Burma Shell at that time, he was transferred to Calicut. So I had no clue of Malayalam, right? My second language was being in Tamilnadu throughout. It was always Tamil, and my third language was Hindi. At least I could actually take my second language as Hindi when I moved to Calicut. But the school I was moving to, where they offered me a seat, which was a branch of St. Francis Convent, they said I can appear as a private candidate, but I can do only Tamil. What I've done in the 9th standard only can be continued, right? I cannot choose a new language and change to Hindi. So this was a very big challenge for me because, you know, you're going into the 10th standard and SSLC is all about your marks and everything in those days. And in those days, you know, it was not even the done thing. You just followed your parents where they went. Nowadays, the mothers stay back and, you know, settle down with the child. That was not even an option at that time. So my class teacher, Ms. Sundaram, told me, don't worry. Every week, every Friday, I will send you the notes, right? So I actually appeared as a private candidate. I appeared as a private candidate in the 10th standard and I scored a distinction. So that way, I should say, I have been very lucky in my mentors. Later on, Mr. Panchanathan in the JCs, the organization which me and my husband were a part of and very involved and passionate about it, he actually discovered the trainer in me, I should say. And he put me through this training and took me to the different levels. And when I reached the highest level of international training, again, Mr. Subrata Ghoshal, who was the trainer for Air India at that time, he helped me to discover myself. And there I stand as a trainer. That's how my trajectory was very smooth, I should say, when it came to training.
Yes, dear ma'am. Ma'am, what a beautiful way to give a tribute to all the people in your life who have been a part of your journey and have shaped you into being a great person today. If the first thing you mentioned, your father chiseled, when you use this word
Yes.
chiseled, you know, that I really could understand what hard work and what passion and what interest your father has taken.
Definitely.
In today's world, most of the parents, especially the father, they just neglect.
Yeah.
And if neglect children, and in fact, if it the fact is female children, if it's a daughter, they neglect them a lot and they mistreat them a lot. So at that time, if your dad has given you that much of love and encouragement and, you know, a mentorship, that's really very nice. Being a great, you know, source of energy to you. Certainly. I appreciate that. And I wish that even my dad was strong like that. That's really nice because all of us aren't lucky the way you mentioned that your father has been doing this much for you. There are several people out there who would really agree with me. Ma'am, and then you said you really got a lovely partner who had really, you know, identified the trainer in you. That's really nice.
Yes.
You have given credit to your teachers and all other mentors, etc. That's really wonderful. What a beautiful way to start the session by giving tribute to all the important people in your life.
Thank you.
Off to you. Yes.
Thank you.
Dear ma'am, I'd like to know, how was your journey on AIR? You were also a news reader. How did this all begin? And I would like to ask you, like, how did it begin? We'll ask you after a minute or two. When you sat down there to read the news, like, how did you feel the first time? How did you feel?
Yeah, I must confess that I was in a box of nervousness at that time. But then, you know, it helped me because I got selected as an All India Radio news reader after I got married and came to Coimbatore. But having been the college union president in Queen Mary's College, where I have faced the audience almost, you know, every week, I meet them and talk to them. That was of very great value to me. And also, I was a part of the Doordarshan, which was just like a walking distance from my college. So after my college hours, I was employed there for 2 hours. I used to go up and conduct some interviews, right? I was working along with a host called Uma Padmanabhan, who was of very great support to me and helped me in overcoming these hurdles. So when I first went to the AIR, it was a little different experience from facing a television screen, because there actually you see yourself and you can validate yourself, right? But in the AIR, it's only your voice that is being heard. So it was a little strange for me in the beginning, but Mr. Kamalanathan was the AIR head at that time, and I think I did very well. I was a newsreader for 2 years in Coimbatore, and then I had my first kid, so I had to retire from that service. I mean, yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing all of that. Much appreciated. Ma'am, we'd like to know about the person within you as an author. When did you begin your writing journey? And as I get to know that you really love to write poems during your free time, how did this start? And would you like to share all about it?
Yeah, definitely. I must tell you, this is a great childhood memory that I treasure. You know, my father, although he encouraged me a lot, he was a very strict disciplinarian, right? So we had certain rules in the house, right? Like which were framed. It was a part of the network of the house, and we had to follow it. So during breakfast, it was compulsory that before we went to school, we had to finish up everything on our plate. And I was a very naughty child, believe it or not. And I was a very poor eater too. And I used to get a lot of scoldings from my parents that I'm not finishing what is set in the plate. And we always had a rigorous punishment for this. So I remember this was on a Friday before we were going to school. And my mother had left 3 idlis and some sambar on every plate. We were 4 children. We are 4 children, and all of us were seated at the table. I just could not finish the 3 idlis that day because it was like too much for me. So I ate 1 idli, and then I waited for my brothers and sisters to finish. And once they left the table, I took the other 2 idlis and hid them inside the cupboard, right? And I left my plate empty, and I just walked and washed my hands, and the school bus came, and we all got into the bus and left. But eventually, by evening, when I returned from school, my mother had found out when she was trying to put something in the cupboard. She noticed the 2 idlis, and immediately they instantly guessed it was me. And I was in for lots and lots of trouble. So when I came back, every Friday we would all sit down together and discuss. And then when we were sitting down for dinner, my father said, "Why did you do this?" I said, "No, I ate all my 3 idlis. You saw my plate empty." My father was angered because, if only I had said, "Oh, Dad, yeah, I couldn't eat," or something like that, he might not have forgiven me, but he might have at least considered that, right? But instead of that, I bluffed, right? So I bluffed and I said, "No, I finished." Then he said, "What were the 2 idlis sitting in the cupboard?" I said, "I don't know." So I just feigned something. And so my father got very angry with me. And every Saturday, we would actually go for a movie, right, in the evening, and then have dinner outside and come. So my father told me, "Okay, this Saturday, you are not joining the family. You're going to be at home with grandma, right? You're going to sit at home, and I'm just taking your other 3. I'm going to take my other 3 obedient children and my wife, and you stay at home with grandma. She needs company too." So I was very, very disappointed because I was looking forward to seeing that movie, Dastak. They were all going to Dastak, I remember. So I was very, very disappointed. So I told my grandmother, "I don't need dinner today." And I went into the room, I shut myself. And that was the day I was so disappointed. I was so ridden with guilt that I told a lie to my father, who loved me so much. And that was the day I started writing poetry, right? So I think that guilt and that stress in me brought out something. And that was the first ever poem that I wrote. And after that, when my father came back and he knocked the door and I opened it, I was like half asleep and very hungry. And I just opened the door and I went back to my bed and lay down. He came in and he saw the notebook on my bed. He took it out and read. And immediately he hugged me and he said, "I never knew there was a poet in you," right? And he said, "Now, every time you need to write a poetry, it doesn't mean you have to do something wrong, right? So every month, I want you to write out at least 1 poem and show it to me." So that kind of egged me. In spite of having done something wrong, I suddenly forgot the nice opportunity of what I'd missed of seeing Dastak and having dinner outside. And I became very happy because something that I did was well appreciated. So that's how my writing of poetry actually began, when I felt very guilty.
Excellent, ma'am. What a beautiful way to share that. And I could visualize you being there, sitting down, grumpy and sad, and then penning all your thoughts into a beautiful poem. That's really nice. Ma'am, if you would help us to know more about your poem, which you started up with, if you could read that for us, we'll really be very happy.
I can read the first poem. It might be very, very immature, right? Because that was the very first poem I wrote.
We'd
And
love to hear
when I
it,
was
ma'am.
60 years old, my daughter brought this out as a publication. And she said, she asked me to title it. And I said, My Feelings Over 60 Summers. So that's the name of the book that we gave. And this is my very first poem, but pardon me for the amateur prattle. When in doubt, not knowing what to do, when problems arise, not knowing where to go, I turn to my friend, philosopher and guide. My conscience in my heart reside. My inner voice is ever alert, like the watchman guarding me all day and night. Though the road is dark and the journey long, when guided by my conscience, I will never go wrong. When problems or doubts arise, conscience comes with ready advice. Fortunate is the man or woman who listens to it. Your mental happiness is stored in it. Very, very, I'm sorry, it sounds
excellent. No, it's really superb. If you really listen to every line, it's so beautifully put in. Every word is giving us a deep meaning, and it takes us deep to understand. It's not only for one particular person, or it's a universal poem, as I can say that. It applies to everyone.
You're being too nice, but
that's the truth.
I wrote every line of this with tears, brimming in my eyes, because I felt that I had done something wrong. So that was the way this poem actually rolled out.
Beautiful, ma'am. It's a wonderful one, and it has a universal appeal because it applies to all of us, irrespective of gender, irrespective of age. It applies to all of us. That's really.
And I wrote this poem when I was 14 years old.
Wow. I just wanted to ask you at what age, and thank you. You shared that. That's really nice.
Yeah.
So you were enlightened at that time. Enlightenment, they say, like from within. You were connected to your conscious and wanted to know the true meaning of life, true meaning of connecting with people.
Exactly. I think everybody needs, a small, it's like, if you're having a ketchup bottle and the ketchup doesn't come out, you tap it for the ketchup to flow out. Like that, I think everybody needs a tap at the back for something to surface, which is inside them, which they have not realized themselves. And I think this urge for me was when I did something wrong and my father actually scolded me.
That's really nice. And your dad even asked you to continue this beautiful journey, this transformation.
And that's how I wrote. By the time I was 60, I had written 60 poems.
Great. That's wonderful. Beautiful, ma'am. Thanks for sharing that. We'll get to know more of your poems as the session goes on. I would request you to read a few more of them.
Sure.
Dear ma'am, you've been connected as a trainer, as a corporate trainer, and you've been connecting with more than 6,000 plus individuals. How did this happen, and how could you, create magic in the lives of people with regard to management, leadership, etc.?
Oh, I was very happy to do this. In the first place, I had a passion for being a trainer and, imparting knowledge. And I was very lucky because we got associated with a few corporates in and around Coimbatore, like Group Bond, Kirtilal Kalidas, and a few training centers here. So we were able to reach out to the audience and students. I was attached to a few colleges, and hence, we dealt with them in batches. I always never wanted a batch more than 35 students because we could reach out to them individually. So I never took batches of 100. I said, break them up, right? Break them up and give it to me as 3 batches. So that way, I think I was able to make a small impact on them and make them follow every word that was being said. So that way I was very happy. My flagship, I should say, or my specialized course has always been effective public speaking. And that is what, and together as with my husband, together we have done lots of programs on ideal couple. So we have done a lot in this. We used to do it.
Yes, dear, that's wonderful. And it's the need of the hour also,
Yes.
working on that beautiful aspect of being an ideal couple. That's really nice. I really like the concept. That's beautiful. Dear ma'am, we'd like to know about your journey overseas. You've been to Australia on an important project. What
Yes.
is it all about? If you could elaborate, dear.
Certainly, this is something that people need to know. We used to have a program called Group Study Exchange Program through Rotary International, for which I applied. Right. I think my luckiest years, I should say, of my life were 1989, when I got selected as the best speaker in JC's International, in the international conference. I was adjudged as the best public speaker. And I was very happy because I competed along with the men and won this title. So in the year 1990, when I applied for this group study exchange program of Rotary to Australia, I could mention this, that I was the best speaker in another international organization. So I think that was the passport, or the visa, I should say, to graduate me into that. And of course, they interviewed me. It was a tough process of 4 rounds. But I think the basic thing that made them pick me up was this title that I had gained in 1989. And this was a wonderful program. It's a 6 weeks program where we had people. It was an all-ladies team into which I got selected. There were ladies, each one representing a separate field. I was from the field of management, and I gave several talks in the Darvin Institute of Management on management sciences. There was a lawyer, and there was a banker, and then we had our team leader and his wife, right? So we were 5 of us who were on the team, and it was a great experience for us. And it was like an eye-opener for me to face a different culture, because actually we were billeted with the families, right? We were billeted with the families. We were not put up in hotels, right? But we were billeted with families. And hence that was a great learning experience for us to learn about their culture. There were, lots of culture shocks. I will share one with you a little later on. But it was, I think, one of the best periods of my life. And I was just 30 at that time. So, that's the learning curve. When the learning curve is perfect, I think I got that opportunity in my life. I will tell you one thing, right? I was billeted with one professor who was a Rotarian too, of Darwin Institute of Technology. One day, I found Julia a little disturbed. She was a very bubbly and peppy kind of person. All the 2 weeks I stayed with her, but suddenly I felt one day she was very morose and very very slow in what she was talking and saying and even walking. So I asked her, "Is everything okay, Julia? Are you okay? Are you not well or something? Should I help you out in something?" She said, "No, it's just something that's bothering me." I said, "Yeah, tell me if you can share it with me." She said, "Yeah, I have a 13-year-old daughter who's back with my husband. They were divorced, right? So she said, and I'm very worried that my daughter still doesn't have a boyfriend." What a thing to worry about, I thought. I had a 13-year-old daughter who I'd left back at Coimbatore, and I was constantly worried how many dosas she ate for breakfast, whether she finished her homework, whether she woke up on time, whether she was troubling my mother-in-law in getting dressed up to school. So these were my worries. So this was really the most funny thing that happened, I thought. So culturally, it was so different, right? Culturally, a mother of 13 who's worried that her daughter doesn't have a boyfriend is something that I could not stomach at that time. But at the end of the 6th week, I could. because that was a part of their culture. That was a real funny thing that happened.
Yes, dear. Yes, dear ma'am. Thank you for sharing. And to me also, like, it was like, even I was shocked when you shared. Yes, dear.
You
Yes.
can imagine how shocked I would have been at that time. And
Yes.
there's another thing I should tell you about the same host family that I shared. Another very, very funny incident. Once the next evening, actually the next evening, she invited a group of friends over from Darwin Institute because they all knew me for these 2 weeks. Because, the third day we were all leaving for a tour to Adelaide, right? The 5 of us. So she said, before she leaves, all of you come and say like hi, bye to her. And they were all invited for dinner. And Julia was very busy. So I went up to her and said, can I make an Indian dish? So she said, oh, I've heard a lot about rice and sambar. Can you make that? I said, of course I can. And then she told me, okay, quickly make a list of what all you want. I can get the ingredients. So I had actually taken a packet of sambar podi, in my box. So I told her I have the spice for it. I just need some onions and tomatoes and tamarind. And I told her all the ingredients. Within seconds, all of them arrived at home because they just Instacarted. And I was there making the white rice and the sambar. I made the sambar with the small onions, and they all just loved it, right? And the entire rice and the sambar was really one of the biggest hits in the party, I should say. And the next day morning, we all left early in the morning by 6 o'clock. After 3 weeks, I came back to Julia's house, and I came back around 8 p.m. and I was really roaringly hungry because, we had traveled the entire time. And there, believe it or not, there was white rice and small onion sambar. I was so pleased with it. I remembered leaving the sambar powder outside on the counter, and I had not, because it was open, I didn't pack it back into my box. And I was so thrilled that, she had actually watched the recipe and replicated it. And then I told her, my God, Julia, you made the sambar even better than what I made. It's exactly tasting the same, if not better. She started laughing and she said, Jayanthi, it's the same sambar that you ate. I just froze it. And, my stomach was tossing. My mother-in-law would have outcasted me if she knew that I ate sambar, which was 3 weeks old. And she said, I made this white rice. This white rice is fresh cooked. But the sambar is the same old sambar you had made when you left. So that was a funny incident that I should share with you.
Yes, dear. And that also was a shocker now, I just popped off my...
Actually, nothing happens. We just think that, when it kind of gets spoiled and it gets rancid, but nothing happened. Nothing happened. The sambar tasted the same. The onions were all still nice and strong, and, they were not too soft and soaked. It was just the same.
Wonderful. That's really nice. Thank you for sharing these beautiful experiences, ma'am. And you kept it a secret right to the end. You brought it to the end and then you let it out. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. Excellent. And I could imagine all of that. I created that visual picture in my mind. Oh, yes. How you both were exchanging your thoughts and views with regard to that sambar and white rice.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing all these beautiful memories with us. Dear ma'am, you also wrote a beautiful book, Speak in English.
Yes.
How did this begin and what was the purpose behind this beautiful book?
Oh, yes, that's a very big story. But to cut the long story short, I was running an institute till around 2018, 19. My last batch was in 2018, 19, where, I had students from different diverse backgrounds. And I noticed all along in the classes, I used to observe the professors when they take the class, and also when I'm handling the class, I used to observe the government school students were very intelligent. They always scored high on the tests, but during the class, they were always very withdrawn and, very very quiet. And when the professor put up a problem on the blackboard and said, what formula would you use for this? And asked them the question straight away, they just stood up and stared. They used to never answer. And once I thought, let me try. So during my class, I told them, okay, Soumya, just come to the blackboard and write the formula that you would use. And she confidently walked up to the board and quietly wrote the formula. So having observed this a couple of times more, I communicated this with the professors. I told them, don't ask them questions, but tell them to come and work out the problem on the blackboard. They will be able to do it. And it actually happened. And then I realized that the obstacle was not knowledge, but their obstacle was communication, and their obstacle was the language. Right? This really set me thinking. Look, if you are asked a question and you don't know the answer, I would just feel sorry for you. But if you're asked a question and you know the answer and you can't say it, I feel really that it is the part of the society to give them this knowledge, and it is not their own fault. It is not a mistake that they didn't go, their mistake that they didn't go to an English medium school. So this propelled me to write this book. I started writing it little by little on the side while I was running the institute. And by September 2018, I brought out the first publication. It is a book where step by step, they learn to talk English. So this is the book that I brought out. It is called Speak English. And again, it was not very easy for me to find a publisher for this. With some effort and with some good luck, I was able to convince the Waterfall Institute of Technology in Delhi, and they brought it out as the first it was their first publication on Speak English. So they were transferring technology. So that in that way, I should say I definitely did get lucky. Dr. K.V. Swaminathan, who was the chairman, even wrote the foreword for my book. And I think this book greatly got accepted by the government schools in and around Coimbatore and Chennai. And of course, it would be relevant to only students of Tamilnadu, because it was directly from, the words were all in Tamil. And I have given a glossary in the first 30 pages of only words, because words are your raw material for any communication, isn't it? Unless you have the raw material, no industry can thrive or survive. So I dedicated the first 30 pages of the book for words, for gathering the raw material for this, where there's a list of words alphabetically arranged, commonplace words that they need to use at their age to face an interview, to make a conversation. And then later on, I went into sentences, and then later on into paragraphs, and finally into situations, like you go to a grocery shop, then you go to a police station, you go to a sports shop, right? So small situations like this and conversations. And I made it like a user-friendly book. The book is basically in Tamil, which has the English equivalence to it. So that way, this book got very well circulated in the government schools. And I think we circulated in 20 plus government schools in and around Tamil Nadu and, Chennai and Karur and Coimbatore. So this is one project I was really very happy, and something that gave me the satisfaction that I've given something back to society. It made me really happy.
Yes, dear. That's beautiful, ma'am. You're a great observer. So only when we observe things around us very keenly. So I guess you're a keen observer, and that's why you were able to identify what was lacking amongst all those beautiful children with beautiful minds who had a lot of knowledge, as you mentioned. That's really nice.
Yeah, certainly.
And as you said, the first 30 pages are focused on the glossary part.
Yeah.
It's in English and in Tamil as well. That's really nice.
So I've given a lot of importance to the phonetic part also, because in Tamil Nadu, we tend to speak English like Tamil, right? So I've given that it's in 3 columns. First is the Tamil word. then is the phonetical pronunciation of the English word, and then is the English word. For example, I'll just read out one word to you, some word. See, it says punai, and then it says cat, and then phonetically, how you pronounce it as cat. So that way it is mentioned here. So they are able to know the correct, they don't say cat. Right? So that way, I felt that a lot of importance should be given, because you find in North India, they speak English like Hindi, and Tamil, in Tamil Nadu, they speak English like Tamil. So you go to Kerala, you will find them pronouncing English like Malayalam. So that way, I think, I thought a lot of importance should be given to the phonetical part also, especially when these kids, preparing for IIT, and they get into IIT and they go to face an interview. If they speak English like Tamil, it's not going to sell, right? So they need to learn the correct pronunciation, I thought.
Yes, ma'am. Beautiful, ma'am. I really appreciate this. You even adding the phonetic part to it and enabling students to making it easier for them, enabling them to read it in a much easier. Thank you very much, ma'am, for sharing all of that. And thank you for being a beautiful part of their learning process. And that's really nice to give back to the society like that. If ma'am could do it, you also can do it, my friends. I also can do it. We can work for a better India, for a better world. Ma'am, I would like to know, were you a strict mother, a strict disciplinarian at home? Because you are a trainer and connected. So how were you with your children?
No, I was not the disciplinarian. Actually, the disciplinarian was my husband, right? I was the more lenient kind, right? The more forgiving kind, I should say. So I felt that if both of us are very strict, that would become a big, because when I grew up in my house, my father was the disciplinarian and my mother was the lenient kind. So kind of you role model around your parents for especially when it comes to child rearing. So I was a very lenient mother.
Yes, dear. Dear ma'am, like with regard to food, between your two children, Aarthi and Vijay, did you ever face the problem that you once faced? Did they too ever like skip lunch or breakfast like that?
Not really. My children were, my son was a fussy eater, but they never used to skip food.
Yes,
they are still foodies.
That's beautiful. Ma'am, like as a trainer, as you know, being connected with different organizations, corporate levels, members, students of either college or school, which was the most challenging part? Like people need to accept us as a trainer very easy.
Yes.
So where did you feel it is a challenge? As you said this also, that 35 members is all I need, not more than that.
Yes.
I can't do justice. No one can do. The fact is, we can't do justice to everyone individually.
Exactly.
So would you like to share that?
See, the challenging part for me was, breaking. There is a kind of resistance, especially it was not from the students, but I felt the resistance was more from the college management in, engaging a lady faculty. Right? The first question would be is, how much does she know? How much does she know? How much can a lady know, rather, right? So I had to break that stereotype first, that I know as much as I need to know, right? I know what I should know to deliver the goods. And that was a big challenge for me, breaking the myth with the management more than I knew I could deliver the goods. I knew I could reach the students because I had always done it with my IIT Study Circle students. But then convincing the management was more difficult for me than reaching out to the students and helping them out, I felt.
Yes, dear. I get that, ma'am. I get that. I understand.
Yeah.
Yes. And we have to put out a request to all the management of, educational institutions, all the school managements and college management, to focus on building the inner core of a child, not only the subjects knowledge, the knowledge of subjects. It's actually building the person from within to face difficult challenges which they will face in future.
Eventually everybody is going to face it.
Yes. So that is what they should train every child right from the start. So this is a big shout out to all of them, that they have to come forward, allow the trainers to, incorporate their thoughts, use and train the children in the right way. It's not only subjects.
Yes.
Right, ma'am? Do you agree on this, ma'am?
I totally subscribe to your thought, because your textbooks can only take you a mile, but that extra mile can be run only if you have some extra knowledge other than outside your textbooks.
Yes.
And that can only be given by a trainer. It cannot be given by a teacher. A teacher who is forced, I should say, who's forced and compelled to follow the syllabus, because she is given a prescribed area. He or she is given a prescribed framework and a prescribed time and asked to operate within that arena, right? And that's all the time she has. She doesn't have time to step out of that arena, even if she wants to, because her time is described. So I think a little bit of outside exposure to these children, like, sending them out on camps. It's not only to the management. I think it should be a good shout out to the parents also, to involve these children in camps, summer camps, and places where they can amass knowledge which is outside the textbook. And this becomes very important and more important in these days, because it's more important to be a smart worker than to be a hard worker.
Yes, dear. Excellent, ma'am. That's really nice. As you focused even on parents too, that they should encourage their children.
Yeah.
Yes. And as summer's almost, summer's almost arrived, and parents, after the examination of your children, allow them to take part in various activities. Let them build confidence.
Yes.
Not only through the studies, but other activities as well. Dear ma'am, yes, dear. Yes, dear. Dear ma'am, apart from being a trainer, apart from being a professional and all of this, have you ever taken out some time for yourself and gone for a lovely movie? Enjoyed the movie, come back?
Yes.
It is yes.
Very often. I'm a big, quite a movie buff, and you won't believe it if I tell you that I have watched Sound of Music at least 50 times, right? That's my all-time favorite movie. I love music. That's one of my favorite hobbies. So I sing a little bit, but I like to listen to music and watch movies as a hobby. I do a lot of exercise, yoga. So all that keeps me, away from all the stress of work and things like that.
Yes, dear ma'am. As you mentioned, Sound of Music, I get to remember this song. I am 16 going on 17.
Oh, yes.
It's a beautiful song.
It's a beautiful song. And even that Raindrops on Roses, it's a wonderful song. Yes. I listen to that song almost, I should say, every weekend. Even this morning, I listened to it. Because it's a wonderful song which really takes out the stress from you. Have you heard it?
I haven't heard this song, ma'am. I haven't focused on this. I might, once if I listen to it once more, maybe I could recollect it. I might have.
Yeah. I will sing.
Yeah, please do that. Yes, dear.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog barks, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things. Then I don't feel so bad. Wonderful. That's the first
Hats off
paragraph.
to you for singing that beautiful song for us. Now I could recollect it. One gentleman who was here with us on the International Fabtalks.
Okay.
He sang this song.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yes, he sang the song and I could recollect it now. And I can't get his name. Mr. Nurullah, I guess.
Okay.
And I was surprised to like how he could sing it so well, just like you. He sang it in his style, like in a male voice. And you've done justice singing today for us. Thank you so much. Would you like to sing for us, or would you oblige? Would you like
I have already sung
this? I am 16 going on 17. Would you like to share that too, please? Would you
I don't know that song fully. I don't know that song. You are 16, going on 17. I know that I'm a knave. I don't remember.
Yes, dear.
I
Thank you.
remember the tune only. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes, dear. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Achilla dandies, dinkers of brandies. What do you know of those? Totally unprepared am I to face a world of men. Timid and shy and scared am I of things beyond my ken. I need someone older and wiser telling me what to do. You are 17, going on 18. I depend on you. I suddenly remembered the words.
Wonderful, brilliant, brilliant. That's really nice. Hats off to you for that. Superb, ma'am. Excellent, excellent. Dear ma'am, what is that one thing you love about yourself? What is it that you love about Jayanti?
About music, you mean?
In general, what do you like about yourself? What do you admire in yourself? That this is the real Jayanti. And
Everybody has to like themselves, I feel, in the first place. Unless that self-esteem is there in you, you can never give out something good to others. So I like myself for the self-confident disposition I have. And as I told you earlier on, I never give up. I like that trait in me.
yes, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, a big question. How would you want people to remember you? In what way they should remember you?
I don't think I'm worthy of having created a track record in any way. But if at all people remember me, I would like to say, I would ask them to remind me as a person who has helped them to come up in life. Especially, I would like to be remembered as the author of Speak English, which I feel is one of the good achievements along my path of life till now.
Yes, dear. Because that is contributing to the future growth of children, you know. So I really like the way you put it. That yes, people should remember me for being a wonderful author, a writer with regard to speak in English. Because your main intention is to improve the children, or I mean, to let the children overcome that challenge of communication.
Exactly.
That's really nice.
Yes.
Wonderful. And you've done it for the children of Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
And they will really be very happy with this beautiful book. So friends, get that beautiful book. If you feel it's really required to gift it to somebody who really needs it, you would lay your hands on that beautiful book and share it.
I've made it as a very cost-efficient publication because it should reach, if at all, it should go to the government school children. You know, it should be very cost-effective, right? So I've priced it as a very cheap paperback edition. So I've not put fancy things in it. So it's very reachable. And normally the school just buys it and distributes it to the students.
Yes, ma'am. Is it available online? Like if we also could lay our hands and like if you want to gift it to somebody?
Yes, it is available online.
Yes, dear. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, apart from being interested in music, apart from being a trainer, a good cook too, with the sambar, you've shared that and all of that, have you been interested or showing interest towards sports and games?
I have not been a very big sports buff, I should confess, but the main reason being that I was an NCC under officer. So all my spare time away from when I was a student was spent on the NCC grounds, in the parades, right? So, but I did play a little bit of volleyball. I did play a little bit of basketball, but my main focus was becoming NCC cadet and going up the ranks till I became an under officer when I reached college.
Yes, dear. That's really nice. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. Ma'am, your teenage years, do you remember anything with regard to your teenage years? What 14, you have shared that with us.
Yes.
Now, apart from that, like you see, with regard to dressing, the westernized style, the Indian style, like how did you feel as a teenager? What were your thoughts on dressing? Like, did you want to wear a jeans or maybe?
Yeah. And jeans was not very common when I was growing up, but my parents were very broad-minded, and I never wore a sari or a half sari, which was more common in Tamil Nadu. I always wore salwar kameez, which was like quite a modern dress at that time. So I always wore a salwar kameez to college, and only for the formal functions where, I had to be on the stage, or when I was doing the TV comparing or something like that, I used to be in a sari. Otherwise, I was always dressed. My parents never insisted that, they allowed me to wear sleeveless. They allowed me to dress as I want. So that way, I think I was lucky. And as a teenager, I should say, you said, what is your memory, right? I remember one thing. My father being the divisional manager of Bharat Petroleum, once he asked me if, I told him I want to work, right? I told him I want to work. I want to earn my own money. My father was a little resistant to this because in those days, from Brahmin families, right? They never allowed the girls to go out and work. So I said, no, I want to work. So he said, okay, I'll allow you to do something, but then you should bring 2 or 3 friends of yours with you. I won't allow you to do it by yourself. So I said, okay. And then he gave me some boxes of a soap, which actually was marketed by the Burma Shell itself. It was called Super X. And it was used to wash the cars, right? Which came for filling the petrol in the petrol bunks. So we had to market that, right? So he said, I will ask the people in the bunk to give you a good commission, but I won't allow you to go out alone on the streets. So take a few of your friends and all of you can go together and market the product. It was sold, in those days, it was sold for 30 rupees each, one packet, right? And on the very first day, being girls and being young girls, imagine 15, 16-year-old girls, 5 of us going out on the streets to every car that was parked on the signal, right? And we went like vendors and we were able to sell more than 150 pouches of that soap on the very first day. My father was so impressed. He said, look, I'm going to employ you for the entire month. But then it was a very difficult, because you know how hot Chennai is, right? To go out during the daytime. So we worked for a week and we made a lot of money in that bargain. And that is one experience. It was my first job, right? It was my first job. So that is one experience that I really remember and treasure. And again, that opportunity was given to me by my dad.
Yes, dear. Excellent, ma'am. That's really nice. And, when you share these kind of memories with us, and it gives us that feeling that, yes, we could do it too. We should do it too. If we get